Chapter 3. The divine of the Lord in heaven is love to him and charity towards the neighbour. The divine going forth from the Lord is called in heaven divine truth, for a reason which will be shown in what follows. This divine truth inflows into heaven from the Lord from his divine love. The divine love and the divine truth therefrom are related to each other, as are the fire of the sun and the light therefrom in the world. Love being as the fire of the sun, and the truth therefrom as light from the sun. Moreover, from correspondence, fire signifies love, and light, truth, going forth from love. From this, the nature of divine truth going forth from divine love can be confirmed. In its essence, it is divine good conjoined to divine truth, and because it is conjoined, it gives life to all things of heaven, just as the heat of the sun, conjoined to light in the world, makes all things of the earth fruitful, as happens in spring and summer. It is otherwise when heat is not conjoined to light, thus when the light is cold. Then all things are torpid and lifeless. This divine good, which is compared to heat, is the good of love with the angels, whereas the divine truth, which is compared to light, is that through which and from which comes the good of love. The divine in heaven, which makes heaven, is love, because love is spiritual conjunction. It conjoins angels to the Lord and conjoins them to one another, so conjoining them that in the Lord's sight they are all as one. Moreover, love is the very being of life with everyone. Consequently, it is from love that both angels and men have their life. Everyone who considers the matter may know that the inmost vitality of man is from love, for he grows warm from its presence, cold from its absence, and deprived of it, he dies. But it ought to be known that each one's life is in accordance with the love he has. There are two distinct loves in heaven: love to the Lord and love towards the neighbour. In the inmost or third heaven is love to the Lord, and in the second or middle heaven is love towards the neighbour. Each proceeds from the Lord, and each makes heaven. What the distinction is between these two loves and how they are conjoined appears in heaven in clear light, but in the world only obscurely. In heaven, by loving the Lord, is not meant loving him in respect of his person, but loving the good which is from him. And loving good is willing good and doing it from love. And loving the neighbour does not mean loving a companion in respect of his person, but loving the truth which is from the word. And loving truth is willing and doing it. From this it is clear that there is a distinction between these two loves, as there is between good and truth, and that they are conjoined as good is conjoined with truth. But these things can scarcely be comprehended by a man who does not know what love is, what good is, and what the neighbour is. I have several times talked with angels about this matter. They declared their surprise that men of the church do not know that loving the Lord and the neighbour is loving good and truth, and doing this as a result of willing them, when yet they might know that one shows his love by willing and doing whatever the other wills, and that in this way he is loved in return and is conjoined with the one he loves, not by loving him without doing his will, which in itself is not loving. They also said that men should know that the good going forth from the Lord is a likeness of himself because he is in it, and that those who make good and truth the principles of their life by intention and action become likenesses of him and are conjoined to him. Indeed, to will is to love doing. Besides, the Lord teaches in the Word that this is so, saying, "He that hath my commandments and doeth them, he it is that loveth me. And I will love him, and will make my abode with him." And again, "If ye do my commandments, you shall abide in my love." All experience in heaven testifies to the divine going forth from the Lord, which affects the angels and makes heaven, being love. For all who are there are forms of love and charity, and appear in ineffable beauty with love shining forth from their faces, their speech, and every particular of their life. Moreover, there are, emanating from and surrounding every angel and every spirit, spiritual spheres of life by which their qualities in respect of the affections of love are known, sometimes at a considerable distance. For those spheres flow forth from the life of anyone's affection and consequent thought, or from the life of his love and consequent faith. The spheres that go forth from angels are so full of love as to affect the inmost things of life of those with whom they are. They have frequently been perceived by me, and they have so affected me. That it is from love that angels have their life was further evident from the fact that, in the other life, everyone turns himself in accordance with his love. Those who are in love to the Lord and in love towards the neighbour constantly turn themselves to the Lord, while those who are in the love of self turn themselves constantly away from the Lord. This takes place in every turning of their body. For in the other life, spaces conform to the states of their interiors, and so do the quarters, which are not determined as in the world, but are determined according to which way they are looking. Yet it is not the angels who turn themselves to the Lord, but the Lord who turns to him those who love to do the things that are from him. But more will be written on these matters in the following pages, where the quarters in the other life are described. The divine of the Lord in heaven is love, for the reason that love is the receptacle of all the things of heaven, which are peace, intelligence, wisdom, and happiness. For love is receptive of each and all things in agreement with it. It desires them, seeks them, and imbibes them, as it were, spontaneously, for it desires unceasingly to be enriched and perfected by means of them. This indeed is well known to man. For with him, love, as it were, looks into the stores of his memory, drawing forth all things in accord with itself, collecting and arranging them in and under itself. In itself, that they may be its own. Under itself, that they may be serviceable to it. Other things not in accord, it rejects and expels. That there is present in love every capacity for receiving truths in agreement with itself, and the desire to conjoin them to itself, has indeed been made abundantly clear by the experience of some who were taken up into heaven. Although they had been simple-minded when in the world, yet among the angels they came into angelic wisdom and heavenly blessedness. This was because they loved what is good and true for the sake of good and truth, and implanted them in their life, thereby becoming capable of receiving heaven with all that is ineffable there. But those who are in the love of self and of the world have no capacity for receiving such things. They turn from them and reject them. And at the first touch and influx of them, they flee away and associate with those in hell, who are in loves like their own. There were spirits who were doubtful about there being such capacities in heavenly love, and who desired to know whether it was so. They were therefore brought into a state of heavenly love, whatever opposed being for the time removed. They were then brought forward some distance where there was an angelic heaven, and from it they talked with me, saying that they perceived a more interior happiness than they could express in words, and lamenting greatly that they would be returning to their former state. Others also were taken up into heaven, and the higher or more interiorly they were exalted, the more they were admitted into intelligence and wisdom, so that they could perceive what had before been incomprehensible to them. From this it is clear that love, going forth from the Lord, is the receptacle of heaven and of all things therein. That love to the Lord and love towards the neighbour include in themselves all divine truths can be confirmed by what the Lord himself declared of these two loves, saying, "Thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second, like unto it, is, Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. On these two commandments hang the law and the prophets." The law and the prophets are the whole word, thus all divine truth.